before coaching with Joseph was a struggle. It looked great on the outside. It really sucked on the inside. I had recently sold my business, started another one, and for all intents and purposes, should have been living an amazing life. And I remember on the call before we got started, I gave Joseph a really hard time about whether or not we should work together. And I told him, I was like, "Hey, tell me what I don't see." Right? That's it. And he said, "I look at you, I see all these things, I don't see joy." And I kind of played it off while we were on the phone, but I went and talked to my wife shortly after that and said, "Hey, this is what he said," and I just broke down and realized it was true. I didn't have joy, and I would say, uh, the most marked change that I've had in that was I went from I don't have joy to I wake up and I know right where it is every morning. What did I discover about myself? Well, Joseph likes to say we've got our little control freak going on, and I discovered mine was present and accounted for. So there's so much about my life that brought me the success that I brought because I controlled things. I was relatively good at controlling a decent number of things, and because of that, I thought that's the way that I moved forward. And the problem with that is every time I bumped into something I couldn't control, the gaskets would start to blow. And so the fact that I didn't have joy before I started was intricately knit to the idea that I was in control of my life. And what I found in our time together was the joy that comes in submission, in giving myself to the Lord and submitting to his leadership and realizing he does a lot better at that than I do. In my business, the biggest one was clarity. There was a number of crossroads that I came to and was knocking on the door of whenever we first started, and I think I kept trying to fix them with my head. I kept trying to find my way through them, and what Joseph really helped me to understand was that again, that all has to come in submission to the Lord. Like, it's not our job to fix our business, it's not our job to make all of that happen. Of course, we partner in that, and we have responsibilities, and we go to work every day or whenever he calls us, but at the end of the day, it was really up to the Lord. And being able to walk in that lens with the relationship with my father to say, "Hey, what do we do, what's next," was something that I'll never let go of. Before we started, would have said I had a good marriage. When we started, I realized it wasn't quite as good as I thought, and now we have a great marriage. The connection between my wife and I, it was far too easy for us to be two ships in the night. Pass each other by, and smile as we do, and there was nothing necessarily wrong, but there wasn't the depth of intimacy that both of us deserved in a relationship that God created, that's marriage. And so the ability now for me to slow down and connect with my wife, not just for her, but for me too, has been a profound and marked change in our relationship. The kids, wow. There's so much more that I don't want to share for their sake of privacy, but my ability to show up as a dad and recognizing that so many of my shortcomings as a dad stemmed from wrong beliefs that came out of my childhood with my dad and with my mom, and how I was reproducing those exact same things with them. And so much of what they were doing, their behavior and how they were showing up, was not them and their behavior and how they were showing up. It was how I was showing up as a dad and the space that I was creating for them. And so the ability again to connect with my kids at a deeper level, the ability for me to step up as a dad and create the space for them to belong and behave in a way that's conducive with how we belong and behave with our Heavenly Father. That's something that I did not realize how much of a responsibility I had in that space. My relationship with Jesus, how has that changed with the Father? It's wonderful. I've been a Christian for basically as long as I remember. Grew up in the Catholic Church. Had a personal walk with Jesus back in the beginning of high school, I think it was. Went to ministry school. served in churches, ordained minister. I checked the boxes, right? Me and Paul, if you will. But what I've always struggled to have was a consistent daily relationship with him, where I'm meeting with him and spending time with him, and that's always been a struggle for me. I don't do very many things every day, period. What I found in the time together, especially with the holy hour and the way that he's put it together, has just become an invaluable part of my routine. And I can say, I mean, well over a year now, I have an active daily, I have an hourly walk with my father that I didn't have before. After coaching with Joseph, it's a lot more challenging. You got to show up, because you can't unknow what you learn in the process. But on the backside of that challenge and the momentary affliction, if you will, is the joy. It's the connection with family. It's relationship with my father. It's the being on purpose and on mission, to being able to show up every day. I remember in our very, actually before we talked, Joseph challenged me. He's like, what if you showed up as this father that you wanted to be? And what if you did this? And what if you did that? And I said, that would be exhausting. Like that. Yes, I want that, but I can't, like, it was beyond my capacity to imagine. And while it's a work in progress and I'm far from perfect, I feel a lot more like that man than I ever would have thought possible. And my ability to show up in each and every one of the places in my life as the man that God's called me to be is, again, something that I'll never forget. It's something that I'll always be thankful for. As a coach myself, it's a challenge that I run into. When it comes to any type of coaching, there's always this kind of idea like, what's the ROI? Is this worth it? It's hard money out. What's the return? Um, and yeah, at the end of it, what you put in is what you're going to get out of it. So if you pay into it and think it's just this magic bullet that's going to fix everything, it's not going to. But if you're sitting there feeling like the vast majority of men do, that you're not showing up 100%, I can tell you it's possible. And when you look at what it looks like to show up at 100% in your work, in your relationship with your wife, in your relationship with your kids, in your community, the cost of that, it's not even a comparison. So is there a hard ROI for some folks? There is. For some folks, there isn't, in the sense of dollars and cents, but you'll find in the process that the dollars and cents are the least concern. And even those who get the hard ROI, it's probably bottom of the list for why you should do it. So if you're sitting there on the fence, I get it. I've been there. I don't think you can give Joseph a harder time than I did. But maybe for me, you can try, just so that I don't claim that spot anymore. But having been there, been in that seat, sitting in the seat that I'm in today, I didn't have half a clue what I could obtain in my time with Joseph. And so if I had made the decision then to not do it, I didn't have the full formula and I'd have sold myself short. I don't want that for you. So sign up. It is absolutely going to be worth it.